Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, and as John Campea once called me, your existential Mr. Rogers, Robert Meyer Burnett, with another mailbag. This is for May 31st, 2022. And you know what? I bet you think it's just me. I bet you do. It isn't. You know who's here with me? That's right, Mr. John Campea. When do I get an opportunity to introduce John?
Yay.
John, it's great to be back with you.
We haven't done a mailbag together in a while, so I thought this would be fun today.
You know, of course, in our live show, you can open up the super chats and we will answer your questions live. But of course, 24/7, our operators are standing by. You, anywhere on the planet you are, you can send us a tip. And if we deem your question, comment, or just compliments to the two of us, and we deem them appropriate, we will read them on a mailbag. The link is right down in the description. So I'm just really excited, John, to be here with you doing a mailbag because I felt so alone. And here we are in the new, I think this is the first time. Is this the first time, maybe the second time in the new studio?
No. I think this is the first time we're doing a mailbag together in the new studio. I mean, one of the great things about the new studio is that, you know, we've got Studio A, Studio B. I've got it set up that I can record in my office.
Yeah.
So with all the stuff that we've got going on, it's always great that you can be working on something and I can do a mailbag. Or, you know, John, like I'll be working on stuff and you can do a mailbag. But every once in a while, it's fun when we can get together and do them at the same time.
And while we're doing this, Ray Ora is over there doing whatever it is he does.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out myself. I'm still, he's been working with me for like 9 years now, and I still haven't quite figured that part out yet. We'll get there.
I'm still marveling over his thumbnail he did yesterday for Top Gun Maverick with the Maverick looking back at the aircraft carrier with money in the sky.
But I love that one. But you know what? I forgot to mention on the show today. We did a topic on the show, on the John Campea Show today on Tuesday, May 31st. We were talking about the June movie preview. And I just told Ray in the morning, hey, I need an image for each one of the movies with something with the date on it. Those graphics, those side graphics, Ray, looked great.
I'm going to save those.
Yeah, save those. You'll save that template because those look great. Anyway, sorry.
Not at all. We should just jump right into it and see what people have to say. Our first tip, our first question, our first comment is from Hitchcock is the GOAT with the tip. Hi, John and Rob. And you know what? For the very first time, we're actually both here.
Yeah, we are actually both here.
Hi, John and Rob. I just saw Top Gun, and it was amazing. Like you said, the best flying scenes ever put to film. Poll question idea for the show. Who's the best pilot you'd ever trust with your life? On the line, Pete Maverick Mitchell or Han Solo? Oh, I don't know, John. What do you think?
I got to go Han Solo. Pete Maverick Mitchell was great, but listen, he wasn't even top in his class. Iceman, Admiral Kaczynski was top in his class. Hey, listen, Maverick's great, but he wasn't even top of his class. I got to go Solo.
I'm going to agree with you because the only other person Pete Maverick Mitchell flew with, Goose, died.
Yeah, wasn't his fault. It was ruled an accident. He was cleared of all wrongdoing.
I don't think while we saw Solo in the cockpit of the Falcon, anyone died under his watch, at least on his ship.
At least not on his ship.
Not on his ship. Not on his ship.
That's a good point.
So thank you for that, Hitchcock. We have Shaun of the Dead. Rob, since you know Bryan Singer, I have to ask, why did he go for character story over a good story with supervillains in Superman Returns? Man of Steel and Superman 2 are my favorite movies because he actually fights superpowered villains. For why? Actually, that's a very good question. I mean, I can't speak for Bryan, but Mike and Dan, who wrote that film, you know, I think they wanted to do something different, and they wanted to have it sort of more emotional and examine Superman the man as opposed to Superman the hero. But I tend to agree with you. I would like to have seen Superman punch somebody, but if all he did was punch Luthor,
yeah,
it would have been a quick fight.
That would have been a grotesque movie. Look, I have always said that, you've heard me say this many times about Superman Returns. Superman Returns is a good movie, not necessarily a good comic book movie, right? And the way you phrase the question too, why did you decide to tell a character story instead of a good story? It was a good character story. I mean, listen, the idea of looking at the God-Man and what are the things and trials and tribulations, the pains and the obstacles that he faces in his life. And the fact is, I thought the movie did a great job of looking at, there would be nobody in the universe that would feel more alone than Kal-El. Not just because his people are gone, but because even on Earth, he is still always daily reminded, his own abilities daily remind him that he is an outsider in his own adopted world, right? And yes, we needed to see him fight more than a falling airplane. And that should have been in there. That's why I always said I think it's a good movie, just not a very good comic book movie.
I agree with that. So Shaun of the Dead goes on to say, John or Rob, you must know insiders at Sony. With the Morbius letdown, are they concerned this will be another dark universe? With 2 average Venom movies and only Spider-Man No Way Home a hit, are they concerned the Sony Spider-Verse is in trouble? Well, I would say Shaun of the Dead, the first Venom movie made like close to $900 million.
Yep.
Venom,
and it was awesome.
And Venom 2 made $500 million.
During the pandemic.
That's pretty good. And okay, Morbius underperformed. We can't all have a great day at the office every single day. But now they're making Kraven the Hunter, which could be pretty great. So I don't think they're really worried about it because No Way Home, that allows them to skate for 3 or 4 movies. I don't know. Yeah. What do you think?
Listen, there's no getting around it. You guys know Morbius was one of my most anticipated movies of the year. I ain't going to hide that. It was. I was so excited about it. I was really convinced it was going to be great. And it's pretty damn disappointing. Not a good movie. Didn't do well financially. Absolutely. But when you say, well, with only Spider-Man, well, only Morbius has flopped. I mean, that's it. Venom was a monster blockbuster hit.
Way overperformed. Venom
2 did quite well given the era that it came out in. And I didn't think Venom 2 was as good as Venom 1, but I love the first Venom. And I had a lot of fun with Venom 2. So really the only big strike on them right now is Morbius, and it absolutely fell on its face. No defending it. It absolutely did. I'm 100% with you on that. But at the same time, I think Venom did great. They're buoyed up by what they've got going with Spider-Man No Way Home. They're into the Spider-Verse stuff is spectacular. And they showed us like 10, 15 minutes of Into the Spider-Verse 2 or was Across the Spider-Verse, Beyond the Spider-Verse, whatever. And it looks awesome.
And
I think they're doing just fine.
I mean, coming off an Oscar-winning animated film. I mean, come on.
I mean, they're doing okay. And listen, not taking away. Like I said, I agree. Morbius, massive misstep. But other than that, they're sitting in a pretty good place right now. Let's see what happens with Kraven. I think so,
Sean. Not worried. Nathan Barnett sends in a tip and says, how is it Reva and or Vader knows where Vader's kids are? Does that not shrink the universe for you? I loved episodes 1 and 2, but there's no way Reva just kidnapped some random senator's kid in hopes to draw out Obi-Wan. Just a little lazy. Love the kid, though. Now, wait a minute, Nathan. I would say this. Bail Organa was very tight with the Jedi, was very tight with the government on Coruscant during the prequel era. So, I mean, I don't think they know who those kids are. They don't know who Leia and Luke is. But what they're trying to do is smoke out Obi-Wan because who else would go to Bail Organa's aid?
Yeah, I mean, like that's it exactly. Reva did not know that Leia was Vader's kid. Vader did not know that the adopted child of Senator Bail Organa of Alderaan was actually his child. They didn't know. But the fact of the matter is, like you were pointing out, Bail Organa was one of the most important political figures in all of the Republic before it became the Empire. He was still one of the leading voices in the Imperial Senate. He is a big, big deal. And history showed her that his biggest ally was General Obi-Wan Kenobi. And if anybody's going to help him, if his kid goes missing, that's it. And remember, you're talking about a Reva who's been searching and hunting for Obi-Wan for 10 years, they said. 10 years. That means she tried 1,000 other things first and then got around to that one thing. So actually, there are things to criticize about Obi-Wan. I don't think that particular aspect was one of them.
No, and John, if they knew who those kids really were, they wouldn't be hiring Flea and his merry band of minions.
No. Vader would be showing up himself.
They would roll in with a garrison and take those kids.
That's damn right.
Yeah. Anonymous sends in a tip and says, remember that the Barney movie promised to subvert our expectations. You mocked the whole thing because there's no way they would do anything dark with a purple dinosaur. I guess Winnie the Pooh producers took your challenge seriously.
But there's a massive difference. There's a massive difference. One is a copywritten and a copy-protected IP of Barney the Dinosaur with a major studio and blah, blah, blah. And what would they do with that? Versus Winnie the Pooh, which is a public domain thing, which means anybody, including you or me, can grab the Winnie the Pooh IP now and make any movie we want out of
Yep.
it. So yeah, they are two radically different scenarios.
Absolutely.
All right,
I
what's
totally
next?
agree. Claudius. Hello, Claudius. How are you, sir? Hashtag Kenobi. Moses Ingram's third sister is very angry and insecure. She's not chewing the scenes like Kate Blanchett's confident Hela. Unlike the third sister, Hela knew she could beat Thor and Loki with her hands tied. Bring on the filthy and go Air Force. That could very well be. I mean, I think, look, I think we need to wait and see where the character's going to go. I mean, obviously, within the hierarchy of those three Inquisitors, we don't know where she's quite coming from yet, other than that she wants Kenobi. And she's been a little, I mean, I thought her performance was a little one note, but remember, that's the way she's been written and directed to perform. So this is something the filmmakers wanted her to do. If they didn't want that portrayal, they would have changed it. They would have asked her to do something else. She's a very talented actress. So I think they're playing the long game with her, at least the 6-episode game with her.
I mean, I certainly hope you're right about that. Look, you're right. She's angry and insecure. That is the most compelling thing to me about this character. Listen, not every bad guy can actually be the universe's biggest badass,
Right.
like Hela was. I don't want every villain to be that. One of the things that is appealing about this character is that she is angry and absolutely that she's insecure. 100%. My personal problem was, to echo you, the performance of it came across as very one note. And,
Right.
and that was, to me, the weakness of it. And you're right. That's not just the performer. That's the performer, the script, and the director giving the direction. Now, like you're saying here, that may all be very intentional and is a building block to something that's coming in a future episode. We don't know that yet. But again, to me, the fact that this is a villainous character that is angry and insecure is not a down thing. That's an interesting thing about it if you play it right, and that's where my issue comes right now.
No, and I think in terms of, like, if someone asks, well, what do you think, what kind of performance should it be? When you see the Grand Inquisitor in the opening of Kenobi Episode 1, he's having a delicious time taunting the people in that bar.
That's such a great scene.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. I'm like, these villains, Star Wars villains, have a way of being very larger than life and entertaining.
Vader, the Emperor,
Yeah,
even Darth Maul himself.
Tarkin.
Tarkin, absolutely,
You know?
yeah.
I recognize your foul stench when I was brought on board. Charming to the
last.
You don't know how. Anyway, Uzi Khan says, greetings, John and Rob. Well done on the studio upgrade.
Thank you.
Now you can have guests on your show.
Nah.
I just watched Top Gun 2. My favorite scene was the moment. Can we say that?
Oh, yeah, because we know Iceman's in the movie.
Okay, the moment between Iceman and Maverick. What was yours? Well,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah. Yeah. That is the best scene in the movie. It's one of the best scenes of the year.
I mean, and
we won't say what happens in it, but yeah.
No, and it's just surprisingly emotional. And you know, the fact that they could have very easily said, we're not going to have, obviously, if you've seen the documentary about Val Kilmer, it would have been easy to not have him in the film. The fact that they added him in the film and incorporated his own real life health issues into the character, I loved that. I thought that was brave, and I thought that was, they gave him dignity, and it was terrific. I mean, I thought it had a lot to say. It was a great scene.
And in the trailer, we see there's a plaque of Admiral Kazansky.
Right.
We know that he's the commander of the Pacific Fleet now. We understand that where he went after Top Gun, like in a 6-second camera flash, we learned the 36-year history of Iceman.
Right.
Just like that.
Yeah.
When we finally do get them on screen together, it is a beautiful, particularly the ending of that scene. And the last little joke is one of the funniest things I've honestly seen on screen in a long time. It's a really, really good scene.
And they also establish, I like the fact that even though it's off screen, their relationship continued. Mavericks and Icemans, they have a relationship that's also established throughout the film, and they tell you that Iceman's been there for Maverick for 36 years.
Yeah.
So really, really, really good stuff. Storm and Norman. There's an old
Tipped
school.
for like $20. Thank you, Storm and Norman.
Absolutely. Calling out all channel members. Now I know there are more than 104 of us, and that's the most likes we have on the C Perks channel videos. Let's like every video every time so we can reach more movie lovers. P.S. Fast 9 was amazing. FX 51923. Let's go. Actually, Fast 10. Fast X, Fast 10, what are we going to call it? I don't know yet. 51923, let's go. Look, man, Storm and Norman, I appreciate your love of Fast 9. I do not share it, but I love the franchise, and we're going to be there. We're going to be there next year.
Damn right. Bell's on the day.
Come on, man.
I hated F9, but yeah, I love this series. I'm definitely going to be there. Now, as far as the thing that, okay, so what he's saying is we do obviously some videos that are only for our channel members. We have a couple of videos that we've done exclusively for our channel members. We do these little town hall meetings with us, me and the channel members. Always a lot of fun. I love them. But remember, so we right now have about a little over 500 channel members, which so I never thought we would have that many. Thank you guys, all of you who are channel members. So that means 1 out of every 5 is liking our channel members only videos. Listen, if we had 1 out of every 5 of our viewers giving likes to our regular videos,
right?
Are you kidding me? We'd be the YouTube trending videos every single freaking day. So I mean, no, I'm perfectly happy with it. But yes, by all means, please to keep liking the videos. Thank you for that. All right.
Your Name, great movie by the way. Your Name says I am looking forward to the next Top Gun sequel, Top Gun Bob.
Again, not going to give anything away. I love that character.
I love that character too. I'd love to see that. I'd go, by the way. Anyone who's my namesake, I'm a supporter. Joel C says the bass player from the Red Hot Chili Peppers should change his name from Flea to Chase. If you know, you know.
Yeah, actually, you know what? That's actually pretty clever.
It's pretty funny.
That's pretty funny.
I like that. I do like that too. Joel C goes on to say, while Love and Thunder is okay, I feel they missed an opportunity to name it Thor 4 Gore War. I picture a poster with Gore's head floating in the background with both Thors standing in front. The title, Thor 4 Gore War, tagline, Thor, more Thor. It's kind of funny.
Okay, you know what? I like that tagline.
I know.
Thor, more Thor? Yeah. Title? No, absolutely not. But the tagline?
Tagline.
Yeah, sign me up for that tagline. That's pretty good. I like that.
I'm in. Good Canadian Kid sends in a tip and says, hi, John and team. I know everyone always raves about AMC's Dolby Cinema experience, but we don't have that in Canada, sadly. That being said, I would highly recommend Cineplex Ultra AVX Dolby Atmos D-Box. Just saw some Top Gun Maverick, and D-Box was a game changer.
You know, the technology like D-Box, which that's the one that gives you extra sensory stuff, right? I don't like that idea for my movie-going experience. But a movie like Top Gun, I think might be like the one movie that would actually make me want to have one of those movie-going experiences in that chair. Have you ever been in one of those types of things?
Never.
Because they have D-Box at some theaters in the States.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I mean, to me, it's almost like they're breaking the fourth wall. Because when I'm watching a movie, I don't necessarily want what's happening on screen to happen to my seat. But like you just said, if there's one movie that I would want it to happen to, it would be Maverick, especially in those flying scenes. Does D-Box like put mist in your face too?
Anybody else here been in?
I guess you wouldn't have mist in your face.
I know there are some theaters that do stuff like that.
Yeah.
I remember there was one theater chain, I can't remember which one it was, that would actually release scents out of the chairs. So like if somebody was walking into a bakery, they would literally release a scent from your chair that would smell like baked bread or something like that. It's like, oh, okay, sure, why not?
I don't know. Could be good.
All right.
You never know. Roy says, John, I just had to send you this message after seeing Top Gun Maverick on Friday, and it was fantastic. The shots were amazing. Seeing Val Kilmer was awesome and bittersweet. I will be adding this to my 4K edition of movies. That's what I like to hear. Long live physical media, Roger. Roger, are you saying Roger because it's like you're saying like you're in an airplane?
Copy that, Roger. Roger.
That, Roger. It's good. Well, you know me. I'm all about that. We haven't been able. I don't know if you can actually pre-order. It is up. It's out. They're going to put out a steelbook, and they're going to put out a 2-pack of both Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick in 4K.
Ooh, nice.
So if you don't already have it,
I'm excited to stream it. I'm not the physical media guy.
Alone, you might. Yeah, one day I'm going to get you to put a disc in your PlayStation 5.
You know, I think I'm just going to put a screw right into the middle of the disc thing, so never be tempted to put a disc in it.
One day I'm going to sneak over his house and I'm going to slide it in.
Oh, come on, guys.
I mean, in the PlayStation 5. What did you think I meant? Come on now. Gosh, I'm still trying to be a physical media supporter.
All right, what's next?
Roy goes on to say, I also wanted to let you know that I'm seeing Top Gun Maverick again with a buddy in 4DX this Sunday. I feel the need for speed. Let's go.
Well, who's got the 4DX? Is that Cinemark?
Is it?
What's that?
It's Regal, right?
Regal has the
I didn't
4DX.
see Top Gun in, but I just have.
They must have it in Riverside at the theater, right?
No, they don't. No,
They don't have 4DX there.
Not telling. No,
It's at
AMC doesn't
Ontario
have
Mills,
4DX.
I think.
Oh, that's AMC. That's okay.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what. I went to the Regal at the Spectrum Center in Irvine,
Right.
right? And because I was going to a Harry Potter thing. Now, I normally go to AMC theaters because they're the closest ones to me,
Sure.
but I also love my movie going experience at AMC theaters. I'll tell you what, I went into the Regal there for the Harry Potter new Fantastic Beasts movie. And it's the first time in a bit that I've been to a Regal. I loved it. It was a great experience. I had a really good time in there. And it was a top-notch experience.
I believe Crimes of the Future is opening at that theater as well on Thursday
At
night.
the Spectrum Center?
Yeah.
Well,
Because I had to look and find out where's it playing near me.
right.
Not near me. It's playing in Riverside, but there you go. So we got to scroll down a little bit. There we go. The Razor Crest, good name. Hey, John and team, why don't studios make action adventure movies like The Mask of Zorro and The Mummy anymore? They're danger, suspense, romance, and comedy all rolled into one. I can't explain it, but there's a specific tone they nail that I enjoy. Well, look, man, I agree with you. And I think that, we were talking about, John brought up today, what is a movie that could be remade from the 80s? And he brought up Beverly Hills Cop. Beverly Hills Cop's a great example. It's more of a real world movie, but it has comedy. It has true action. The truck chase scene at the beginning is great. It has real peril. It has bad villains, and yet the scenes with Eddie Murphy and with Taggart and Judge Reinhold, very, very funny. It wrapped all those things into one. Why don't they make those movies today?
I think there's a couple of reasons. One, several got made like in the 90s that did not do well.
Right.
Number two, I think there is an automatic comparison that whenever an adventure movie tries to get made, it instantly gets compared to Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And that's just a comparison you're never going to look good against, right? So that's difficult. The other thing, though, is, honestly, a good adventure movie, I think, is one of the more difficult codes to crack in trying to make a good movie.
I agree.
Look, if you can just get a good writer who can write some good, funny lines, you can have a great comedy. If you've got some great source material on a drama, you can do it. But to make a movie that's like a good adventure movie, like I said, that's why I think even like 40 years later, Indiana Jones is still considered the top shelf, the gold standard of these things, because it is very difficult to capture and do what they did. Some have come kind of close. Like you said, the original Mummy with Brendan Fraser, that's fun. But it's not Indiana Jones. Like, really, nothing has been able to crack that yet. Why do you think maybe they haven't been able to do it?
Well, I think you just said it. It's a really hard, like, it's one thing to make an action adventure film, but it's a whole different thing to make an action adventure movie that doesn't take itself too seriously and can be funny, or they go too far into the funny realm, like the recent Sandra Bullock film with Brad Pitt and Channing Tatum and Neil Patrick Harris. I mean, it's juggling those tones. It's really hard. I mean, Raiders has hard-hitting, dangerous action. People die. They get thrown into propeller blades. You get their heart ripped out by Mola Ram. But there's also wisecracks, so you can have a funny dinner scene when you're eating monkey brains. That's a really hard thing to balance those tones. Yeah, I think that's what makes it difficult.
Yeah, tough one to crack.
Korea Got Soul sends in a tip and says, hey, John or Rob, well, you got the two of us. So about 2 years ago, I read a Deadline article saying Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in talks with Marvel. In the same article, it also stated that Mark Wahlberg was in talks too. Would love to see Mark Wahlberg as the Thing. Fantastic Four, baby. You know what, Korea? I like that idea. He could be Ben Grimm.
Listen, you know me. I don't care about X actor and X role,
Right.
but I think Mark Wahlberg is a talented dude, so he could definitely go in there and play something like that. But here's the thing: whenever people hear these rumors and reports, so and so is in talks with Marvel.
Yeah.
Listen. Marvel this isn't like a professional sports team, where a general manager will interview somebody and talk about maybe bringing them onto the team, and then they figure out where to put them. That's not how it works in the movies. They're not just meeting with Joseph Gordon-Levitt going, hey, we might want to have you come into the MCU. Great as what? I don't know. Let's just bring you in. No, when there's a specific role for a specific character, like any other movie, they'll talk to somebody. So I don't know that's ever going to happen. I do know this. Where has Joseph Gordon-Levitt gone? Because Joseph Gordon-Levitt has never done anything except turn in great performance after great performance after great performance. Whether he's in a Christopher Nolan Batman movie or whether he's walking across a high wire between two buildings or he's a courier delivery bike driver. He always just acts his ass off. He's got a great look. He's a terrific talent. I don't know why he's not in bigger projects, featured more. He's a superstar. And whether it's in Marvel or DC or Star Wars or none of that things, I just don't know why he's not in more stuff. What happened? Why isn't he more prevalent?
I don't know. We haven't seen him in a while. Have we?
No.
We haven't seen him in a while. He does happen to have a hot toy, though.
He was working on the Sandman thing for a while.
Yeah, he was. And
didn't he do like a straight to Hulu? There was some kind of... Ray, can you look up Joseph Gordon-Levitt's IMDb? Because I think he, like last year, he was in some straight to Hulu thing where he was an airplane pilot.
Oh yeah, yes. He did that where he was the pilot and the hijackers were trying to get into the. What was that movie? It was really good.
Yeah, Ray's looking up the title.
And the whole thing was shot. It was shot in the perspective of the cockpit. Right. The whole movie.
Yeah, and I think Anne's sorority sister. Why am I forgetting on Jamie Chung? Jamie Chung was in that, who was just terrific on things like This Is Us and Lovecraft Country.
Right.
She played the shapeshifter in that. What's that?
I'm looking for it right now. There's Hulu.
Yeah, it was like
I don't know if it was on Hulu or one of the other things.
7,500.
That I think that's the name of it. 7,500. So, but I just don't know why we don't see more.
I don't know.
Right now.
And I think he was a producer on that movie too.
I know he was working on a Sandman thing.
Yeah, but then he
for a
did.
long
He
time.
was, and then he wasn't.
Yeah, and then he was.
Chicago 7.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, he was great in the Trial of the Chicago
Knives
7.
Out.
He's got to do more. He's got to do more. He's too good.
Is he in the Knives Out sequel?
He was a voice, Detective Hard Rock in Knives Out.
That's funny.
That's fine. I didn't know that.
Because obviously he's worked with Rian Johnson before with Looper.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
and how good was he in Looper?
And on Brick.
Oh, that's right.
His first movie
with Mark Ruffalo, right?
Yeah, with no.
I'm thinking of Brothers Bloom. That's yeah. All right, what's next?
What's next is Korea Got Soul continues and says, who would win in a fight between Omni-Man versus Homelander? I always thought that Homelander was a big high school bully, but I always thought I'm the Omni-Man was a fearsome warrior. Well, Omni-Man, I would give it to Omni-Man because Homelander was a product of drugs and Omni-Man was a product of himself.
Yeah, I would say Omni-Man too, but the only reason I would say Omni-Man is because Omni-Man has throughout his career and life legitimately fought legitimate threat level enemies, whether it's his own kind that he's had to fight before and really significant like galactic level threats that he's fought on Earth. Whereas Homelander has just always been, he's never had to sweat.
Right.
Never had to sweat in his life. Now, if he went through the same crucible, I should say, that Omni-Man had in his life, maybe he beats Omni-Man, but I would have to give it to Omni-Man.
Yeah, I think so too. Be a good fight though.
It would be a great fight.
I'd watch it. Chloe Fanning says the first episode of Obi-Wan, I didn't look at it as him being a broken Obi-Wan. Looked at it more of him having the gray man mentality, having to blend into the environment around him or around you. I really wish Disney would do a full season episode of 22 episodes. Look, I would love that too. I mean, I think that, look, I don't think Obi-Wan could have been anything but broken. I mean, he had to kill his friend Anakin, his brother at arms. He watched the Jedi Order destroyed. Everyone he knew is dead. And he went into hiding to protect young Luke. So wasn't he kind of a broken man?
Oh, listen, if there was any confusion about whether he was broken, they answered that question with, I think it was Benny Safdie, who was playing the other Jedi that had tracked down Obi-Wan on Tatooine. That conversation between the two of them, if there was any doubts of how broken Obi-Wan was, that scene settles that. He was absolutely broken to the point where even when Bail Organa shows up to talk to him, he's just looking at him. It's like, you're a shell of the man I used to know. So absolutely, he was broken. And that's one of the things I really love about the starting point of this series so far.
Well, you know what is another good starting point? Eating vegetables. And since you and I don't eat vegetables, we have the next best thing.
Hey guys, we want to take a second to thank the sponsor of this video, Athletic Greens. Now, when you get really busy, and you guys know that Ann and I are really busy, one of the first things you sacrifice is eating healthy. And you know, I simply have never eaten enough vegetables in my diet, I admit it. So for a long time, I've been looking for a really good all-in-one supplement that helps me get those nutrients and vitamins that my body needs. And thank goodness I found Athletic Greens AG1. So what is Athletic Greens AG1? Well, with one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, and probiotics to help you start your day right. And for me and Ann, it's easy. We get up in the morning, we pour a big glass of water and add 1 scoop of AG1. So many people today are taking some kind of multivitamin, and it's important to choose one with high quality ingredients that your body will actually absorb. And it's cheaper than getting all those different supplements yourself. And on top of giving you all those vitamins and nutrients, it also supports better sleep and quality of recovery and supports mental clarity and alertness. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/mailbag. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/mailbag to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
And a very special thanks to Athletic Greens for sponsoring this episode of the Mailbag. We've got Senpaigar. Is it Senpaigar? After watching the Season 2 trailer for The Bad Batch, I am 99.8% sure that I saw Commander Cody. The clone has the same scar over his left eye and the same unique armor add-ons, except it's all in gray instead of yellow. The trailer looks good to me. Well, Senpaigar, I have to say, Bad Batch was, we didn't love it, right?
Well, I
liked some of it.
They sent me, I was lucky enough that Lucasfilm sent me this big package of stuff for Bad Batch 4 came out. It's pretty cool. Had like Bad Batch socks in it, had Bad Batch, like a whole bunch of Bad Batch stuff. Really cool, including the first 5-6 episodes of it. I can't remember. And I remember I watched the first 2 episodes. I'm like, you know what? Because I hated what they did with Bad Batch in the final season of Clone Wars that they put out. I thought it was just terrible. So I was not looking forward to it at all. And I watched the first 2 episodes. I'm like, you know what? This is actually pretty good. And then I watched episode 3. Oh. And then I watched episode 4. I'm like, So I ditched on it. So I didn't even finish the season out because I just kind of gave up on it.
I watched all of it. Yeah, it was lackluster. But I will say this, because I despite what people think, I'm optimistic. I watched the new trailer. I thought the trailer looked great. No, I don't know. I don't know who's in the it was so fast. I don't know who's in it. I mean, maybe that'd be cool if they brought back some favorite characters, some favorite clones.
I didn't even watch it. I'll be honest. I don't even plan on watching the trailer. That's how.
Yeah, I mean,
that's how disassociated I am with it now.
I hope it's better.
Yeah,
I hope it's better. Maybe it'll be better. Jim Burger Helpert. Hey, John and Rob. I love the show. I keep having this intrusive thought about why Portman's Thor is called Thor. I mean, it's not a mantle to take up, such as Hawkeye or Cap. Kate is still Kate. The Mighty Jane sounds better to me. I don't know. Any thoughts? Well, I mean, Thor, that's an interesting question because for us, like Norse mythology, Thor is the god of thunder, and then Thor's name is Thor, son of Odin, Odin's son. Maybe her name, do we know she's called? I mean, in the comics, she was called Thor.
See, that's the thing too, right? It's not Portman's character is not called Thor.
Right.
That's what they called that character in the comic books.
Yes.
And I agree. I hate that. Thor's his name. Like, you become the next captain of the Edmonton Oilers, your name doesn't become Wayne Gretzky. That's not your name. You can be the captain of the Edmonton Oilers. You are not Wayne Gretzky. So I'm not a big fan of that. But again, it comes directly from the comics. It's not the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if they're gonna. Look, you know what? I would imagine there's gonna be some comedic riff on that.
Maybe. Yeah.
Thor's gonna say something to her. That's what I would imagine. I think. Studio is that
Chubsy
okay?
Ubsy.
Hang on, Chubsy Ubsy says figuring out a new show name is exhausting. I have finally cracked the code. Live from Studio A. It simply lets fans know there's only one location they can find out all things entertainment as they happen from the best crew in the business. Cheers. Well, I would say that, Chubsy, that what do you do when we're broadcasting the Kenobi After Show in Studio B? I guess it's called the Kenobi After Show, so it's not the same thing. I don't know, John. What do you think? Live from Studio A?
I say thank you for your suggestion, but we are no longer taking suggestions for the name of the show.
Live from
thank you
Studio
for
A is
that.
a little generic, too.
Yeah, it's a
Because
little
anybody
yeah.
can have a Studio
Yeah, absolutely.
A. But I want to say thanks for sending that suggestion. And Tomcat sends in a tip and said, I had a chance to see Top Gun Maverick in IMAX this weekend, and it blew me away. I did too. I saw it this weekend in IMAX. I now totally understand why they delayed this movie for so long. Well, you know, Tomcat, I think that was one of the great decisions that Paramount made, and probably because Tom Cruise forced them to. But can you imagine if this debuted on Paramount Plus?
No. And I think that's exactly the conversation that may have happened between Paramount and, well, I mean, look, to be fair too, the chief executive of Paramount got on stage at CinemaCon and said, no, we were always just going to put this thing in theaters, right? So it's not like Tom Cruise had to fight Paramount, but he would have fought Paramount.
Yes.
I mean, in the parking lot kind of fought Paramount if he had to. Listen, Paramount and some other studios are just proving more and more what an idiot decision it was by Warner Brothers to take all their 2021 films and put them on their damn streaming service, and they lost hundreds of millions of dollars as a result. Yep. They always said, listen, when a lot of people were screaming, the movie's ready, just put it out on streaming. They drew a line. They say, no, we're not going to do that. And what happened? It only became the single biggest opening weekend in Memorial Day history. It became the biggest opening of Tom Cruise's career by a mile. It became the biggest non-Disney or DC movie film opening in 4 years. And they are making money hand over fist with it now. That's what happens.
Well, you always say that movies are an experiential experience.
Experiential events.
Experiential events. Nothing more so than this. I can't remember, maybe Endgame or Infinity War, but sitting in that theater, multiple cheers, and at the end, shared crying, rousing round of applause. I mean, I was in a packed house at the Chinese on Sunday in the afternoon, 4:00 show, and I mean, the audience went bananas. They loved this movie.
Yeah, and look, again, here's the thing. I am sure I'm going to enjoy Top Gun Maverick when it comes to streaming and I watch it on my TV. I'm sure I'm going to enjoy it. It will not be the same experience.
No.
It just will not. And that's the magic of movies. You and I have been talking about The Offer lately, the new series on Paramount Plus, and it's about the making of The Godfather. And there's 2 terrific scenes that have happened in it that are all just basically ode and love letters to the theater, both when we had Ruddy sitting in the theater with his girlfriend and saying, my mom never cried, except for when she was in the movie theater. And he talks about the movie theater as basically his temple. I mean, this is where true magic happens in here. And then a little bit later on, the Evans character talking to the board of the company, talking about, or when he's talking to his assistant, right? He goes, it's time to go to temple. That no matter what else is going on, we go to our church. We go to temple, which is the movie theater. It's such a great thing. And I thought about that a lot. And Top Gun is just a great example of that. It's got to be experienced. To truly get the full experience of this movie, you have to see it in a theater.
And whether you go to a Dolby theater or an IMAX, I mean, it truly was because they had the changing aspect ratio.
Yeah.
And there's like an hour of this movie that was actually shot in IMAX, so everything that was in the cockpit's amazing. Just amazing. A true, absolutely right. It's Morbin time. Sends in a $20 tip.
Thank you, Morbin time.
Morbius has been such a popular meme these past couple of months and even has been trending on Twitter. Do you think Sony will understand this as satirical, or will they make another Morbi thinking it found an audience? I don't think Sony would. They don't think it found an audience. They're looking at those box office returns thinking, what have we done? How do we go wrong?
Yeah, look, we often forget because, listen, we will rake studio execs over the coals on this show every once in a while, and sometimes it's deserved. But make no mistake about it. these studio head offices are not populated with high school dropouts. No disrespect to high school dropouts. I'm just saying these are not uneducated, no common sense fools. No, they know exactly what it was that happened with Morbius. They know exactly what a flop they had on their hands. And no, they're not going to accidentally misinterpret it as, woo, look, it's popular. No, if you figured it out and I figured it out, they figured it out. So I wouldn't worry about that too much.
Nope. Well said. Brian Walmer sends in a tip and says, one scene in the film seems to showcase Wanda putting 75% of the blame for Thanos killing Vision on Doctor Strange for giving Thanos the Time Stone in Infinity War. This is something that I'm glad they added in to bring her misguided logic full circle. No, I liked Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and I liked that they followed up on her grief. And I thought that it was a great addition and extension of WandaVision. And absolutely, I'm just surprised that we didn't see Vision or White Vision or any Vision in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, again, I was going to say something, but I don't want to get into too big of a spoiler territory here. I will say this, though. That was a cutting moment in the film.
Yeah.
Now, look, Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness is not one of my favorite MCU movies, but like you, I enjoyed the film.
Yeah.
I thought it definitely had significantly better pros and more pros than it had cons. But that particular moment was a cutting moment when she says that to him, and you understand, and he knew that when she said it, there's nothing he can say in reply to that.
Nope.
Like there's no rationalizing with that. There's no logically and rationally discussing that out and pointing out the facts of the situation. That was an emotional conversation. And I thought it worked very, very well in the movie.
I did too. 100%. Joe from New Jersey 1 says, did you guys catch the George Lucas cameo in the first episode of The Offer? It's in the scene we first meet Coppola.
Nope.
I didn't see that either.
Now, when he says a George Lucas cameo, now George Lucas was obviously working with Francis Ford Coppola at the time. Do you mean the character George Lucas,
yes.
or do you mean actual George?
There is the character of George Lucas, but I don't think George Lucas for real.
I mean, I'll have to go back and watch to see if he is, but I didn't see it.
Yeah. Art Creation sends in a tip and says, hi, John and Rob. Greetings from Sri Lanka.
Nice.
That's a very Indiana Jones place to be from. After watching the show for more than a year and after hearing Campea Crew's interesting discussions about Star Wars, I have finally decided to watch Star Wars for the first time. Thank you for the inspiration. No, what? You can't just end your tip and say, what did you think of it? Like,
I don't think he's gotten around to it yet.
You got to write us in and tell us, did you start with episode 1? Did you start with A New Hope?
Start with A New Hope.
I want to know. I got to know. We got to know, right?
See, now I feel like we're actually doing the Lord's work.
We are doing the Lord's work.
Now we're doing the
God.
Lord's work.
But congratulations, you're going to have a great time. All the way from Sri Lanka. Gloria Pritchett sends in a tip and says, hello, I'm 18 and not as well versed in Star Wars lore. I don't understand how canon is determined in Star Wars. Does Lucasfilm approve all of the new books and stories that get published? How are stories beyond the 9 episodes decided as canon or not? That's a very good question, and it's different. Sometimes there was canon, then canon was canceled, then there's new canon, depending on what the extended universe, which is now Legends. So it's Lucasfilm's call.
Listen, canon has always been a big effing mess when it comes to Star Wars. Going back prior to when Disney bought Lucasfilm, you think canon is like kind of messy right now? Oh, it's pristine compared to what it used to be. Listen, they literally used to have at Lucasfilm, prior to Disney owning them, they used to have like 8 or 9 different levels of canon. And they would all have a letter, like A level canon, B level canon, C level. And then the top of the top was G canon. G stood for George. I can't make this up. That's literally what it was. And that's real canon. Where to me, it's like, there are not different levels of canon. Just like a girl isn't kind of pregnant. She's either pregnant or she's not pregnant. And this whole thing about like, well, yeah, this is C level canon. So it's it's either canon or it's not. Okay, so the way it's supposed to work, Lucasfilm has a story group. And these are supposed to be the keepers of the sacred tome. This is supposed to be the organization, the group within Lucasfilm that when it comes to games, comic books, novels, movies, TV shows, they're supposed to be the ones that keep everything in order, making sure there's no contradictions and all that kind of stuff, right? And Disney said when they took over Lucasfilm, everything from now on is canon, because that wasn't the way it was back in the old days. Like people used to say, well, Disney took all the Star Wars novels out of canon. Newsflash, they were never in canon, just so you know. But anyway, they're supposed to keep it all in order. But it became real clear, real fast that they weren't able to do it. And now, then they went from saying things like, oh yeah, everything's canon. And then, I think it was Pablo Hidalgo who, famously once said, once somebody kind of cornered him with a question saying, you said everything's canon, but they did this in the movie and they said this in this book. Totally contradictory. To which Pablo Hidalgo said, and by the way, I'm not trashing on Pablo Hidalgo at all,
Right.
but Pablo Hidalgo said, well, when it's consistent with the movies, it's canon, and when it's not consistent with the movies, it's not canon. So is a book canon or not? That's the thing. So that's the way it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be that anything that comes out Star Wars is supposed to be canon, but it's clearly far too tangled of a ball of yarn that they can handle, because clearly there's a lot of stuff that happens that isn't canon. I will say this. If it's in a movie, it's canon.
Yeah.
Period. If it's in a book, comic book, anything like that, take it with a grain of salt. That's my pitch on it.
Well put. I completely agree. I agree with that. All Sith needs is a lap dance. Okay. Hi, John and crew. Longtime fan. Am I the only one that has noticed the plot hole between Leia's hollow message from episode 4 and Kenobi's series? Instead of once you help my father in the Clone Wars, should be once you save me from kidnapping. Thanks. No, you are not. We've been talking about it here. I've been talking about it all over the place. Lots of people have been talking about it. And yes, it bothers me. But maybe there's a reason for it that we don't yet know.
It doesn't bother me at all. Obi-Wan Kenobi fought beside Bail Organa for years in a galactic-wide conflict. She met him one day. Yeah, he rescued her. Yeah, but I'm going to guess in the young life of Princess Leia Organa, she probably gets rescued a bunch of times. So, if you're just trying to send out a quick message because your ship's being boarded by Darth frickin' Vader and you got to get a thing out here, Obi-Wan, first of all, my father sends his greetings. You worked with him for years and years, long before I was even born, and he extends his gratitude to you. And remember the fond old time when I was being chased down by the bass player for I almost said the Bare Naked Ladies, the Red Hot Chili Peppers? Ha! And who can forget the time that you came over for dinner that once? Well, listen, now that I've got you, I need to extend a message to you here. It wouldn't have made sense if she had a quick moment that she had to get something out, and you're going to reference something. You mentioned the years-long relationship and conflict that she was in with her father. Not something that yes, while significant in her life, not something that happened one day.
Can you remember
That's
that
my
exactly again, just the way you said it?
Yeah, I will too. No, we didn't stop. We kept recording there, even though my camera went out.
Is that true?
Yeah, we kept recording. So we're good. We're good. So our camera keeps going out here today. Anyway, let's keep going here. What's next?
Darius Movie Guy sends in a tip and says, hello, John and company. I just watched Obi-Wan episode 2. I have to ask, what cut deeper? Third sister in the Inquisitor with the lightsaber, or third sister on Obi-Wan with the realization that Anakin is alive and is now Darth Vader? Ewan's face said it all. Thoughts? Well, I will say this. Rightly or wrongly that she knew that Anakin's Vader, that was a great moment. I thought the moment on his face, the acting was amazing. He played it beautifully. Real shock, horror, and also the realization that was creeping in. It's even worse than he could have thought. And the peril those kids are now in, not good.
Ewan McGregor's acting and performance saves that scene. Because even the way Reva says it, hey, what? You didn't know? Anakin's alive. It's weak. It's weak. Ewan McGregor's performance in that scene saves it because you see in his face a man who's struggling with, on one hand, relief that his friend is alive, combined with horror that his friend is alive. I mean, it's all of that, and Ewan McGregor's performance in that one moment was spectacular. It makes the whole scene. Even though I don't like the fact that she knows that Anakin is Vader. Again, we'll see if they make that make sense. But even that being said, and that being a distraction for me, Ewan McGregor's performance saves the scene.
And our final question of today's mailbag comes from James Hoffman, who says, I loved Top Gun Maverick. I was especially impressed knowing that the actors were really in the planes. The action felt very visceral. You could tell the G-forces were real. Do you think Top Gun Maverick will inspire movies to use less CGI? Thanks. Well, James, you know, it really is. They use the tools for the job. And I think with Top Gun Maverick, there was a decision made early on. Tom Cruise made that decision. We're going to do this for real. I don't know how many other kinds of movies, I mean, where you would not need CG, because with science fiction movies, you need CG. Star Wars, you need CG. I mean, I don't know how many action films wouldn't need as much CG other than the Mission Impossible movies.
You know, I know we're making this Godzilla movie, but I just saw Top Gun and they did it all practically. Let's not do CG with Godzilla. Like, really? No, you're right. It's the tool for the job. If you want to look, it's one thing to have a camera in a cockpit, and that's fine. But it's another thing to have a giant tentacle monster attacking downtown,
right,
you know, New York or whatever it is. So those are two different things. I would also say this. Yes, many of the scenes are the actors in the cockpit.
Right.
But if you actually think one of those actors was flying the F-18 and then hit the mountainside and did a 90-degree vertical thing, and if you think the actual actors were pulling 9Gs, no, they were not. Yeah, a lot of stuff like Tom Cruise taking off from the aircraft carrier, standard stuff like that. But if you thought it was one of the actors if you think Tom Cruise actually took his F-18, turned it on its axis, and then came up flying in a razor's edge between two other F-18s. I got news for you. It wasn't Tom Cruise that did that part.
No.
But, I mean, yes, for a lot of it. And you know what? It does make a world of difference. Like, somebody brought up on the show the other day, like, just that one scene of Tom Cruise taking off from the aircraft carrier, it just, without even thinking about it, it just tells our brain this is all real.
Yeah.
You know, and it had a great effect that way.
No, it really did. And the thing is, you feel it. I think the audience feels it. That's why the movie, I think, is connecting the way it's connected, because we haven't seen, you know, it used to be when you would watch, like if you watch The French Connection, made in the early 70s, the
Right.
car chase scene in that movie.
Still maybe the best ever put to film.
Yeah, and they stuck a camera on the front of the car, you know, and they drove it. They didn't permit that. They just did it for real, like in the street. And you could tell, like you could feel it. And audiences they'd never experienced that before. And in a way, that's kind of what we're seeing. That shot you're talking about, that long lingering shot, we know they didn't cut away. They're not using fast cuts to create. That was real. And you could tell, especially because you can see the aircraft carrier behind you. And we've all been in planes, so you can tell the difference between.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, and why, and the fighter plane scenes, I mean, they really went up and shot real planes.
Yeah.
It wasn't Tom Cruise doing all the aerobatics, but those are real planes. So you're looking at that, and I think that's part of the reason the movie's so successful. I would love to see more of that. I just don't know what kind of movies.
Yeah, it's a very limited number of projects that you could apply that kind of a thing to.
Well, John, that does it for this episode of Mailbag, but I do want to say one thing before we stop. Today, John, is Clint Eastwood's 92nd birthday.
Really?
92 years old, Clint Eastwood.
Happy birthday, Clint.
Can you believe that? At 91, he directed and starred in Cry Macho, that, of course, David Zaslav wouldn't have made. But I mean, here's a shout-out to Clint Eastwood, the man with no name himself.
One of the greatest filmmakers of all time. One of the greatest, most iconic, greatest actors of all time. One of the greatest filmmaker directors of all time.
92 and still going strong.
Yep.
God bless Clint Eastwood. We will be back tomorrow with more mailbag questions for all of you. But until then, remember, 24/7, you can go send us a tip. You can send us a tip, ask us questions, you know, and if we deem them appropriate, we will read them here on the mailbag. And Ray Ora will be making sure that we answer your questions in a proper manner.
Yeah, and by the way, there were a couple of questions that we still have that we didn't get around to. That's just because we ran out of time today. But those ones we didn't get around to today, we will get to on tomorrow's mailbag.
Yes, sir, we will. Thank you very much. And from us here at the John Campea Show, we want to thank you for your generous support. I want to thank Jonathan Voico for producing this show, and of course, Ray Ora just for being Ray. And John, it's great to have you and doing our mailbag. Our first mailbag we've done here in the studio together.
Yeah, this has actually been kind of fun. I like this.
Pretty exciting. So thank you all very much.